The village wakes slowly. Sunlight touches the cobblestones. Father Thomas walks to the church, his steps soft, his eyes are kind but tired. The village of Eldermore woke with the sun. Soft light spilled over cobblestone streets, warming the thatched roofs of small cottages. The air smelled of fresh bread and dew. At the heart of the village stood the old stone church, its steeple tall against the misty sky. Father Thomas, the village priest, walked toward it. His black cassock swayed with each slow step. He was a man of 50, with graying hair and kind, weathered eyes. The villagers loved him. He blessed their babies, married their young, and comforted their old. But lately his shoulders seemed heavier. Something troubled him. No one knew what. Each morning he opened the church doors, lit the candles, and rang the bell. Its gentle chime echoed across Eldermore, calling the faithful. Today, though, his hands trembled as he unlocked the door. He glanced around, as if expecting someone. The village was still. No one saw him slip inside, or so he thought. A small camera, hidden in the church's ivy-covered wall, blinked silently. It had been placed there weeks ago by a curious teenager, forgotten until now. The church is quiet. Light glows through colored glass. Father Thomas kneels, praying. His heart is heavy. Inside the church, the air was cool and still. Stained glass windows glowed with soft reds and blues, painting the pews with light. Father Thomas knelt at the altar, his hands clasped so tightly his knuckles paled. A single candle burned beside him, its flame flickering as if unsure. He whispered prayers, but his voice was unsteady. For years, he had carried the village's burdens. Sick children, broken marriages, lost hopes. He held them all. But now his own heart felt heavy. The church was struggling. The roof leaked, the walls cracked, and the collection plate was nearly empty. Father Thomas feared he was failing Eldermore. He prayed for strength, for a way to save the church. No one knew how much he worried. Not the villagers, not young Mary, who cleaned the pews, not old Mr. Harrow, who tended the garden. The camera, hidden in the ivy, watched silently. It saw Father Thomas stand, wipe his eyes, and walk to the back of the church. There, he opened a small wooden box. What was inside? Father Thomas opens a box. Inside are treasures, a locket, a bird, a letter. His eyes are sad. Father Thomas stood in a shadowy corner of the church, away from the altar's light. His fingers brushed a worn wooden box hidden behind a stack of hymnals. He hesitated, then lifted the lid. Inside were small things, a silver locket, a carved wooden bird, a letter yellowed with age. Each held a memory. The locket was his mother's, given to him before she passed. The bird was carved by his brother, gone too soon. The letter, he didn't touch it. These were his secrets, pieces of a life before the priesthood. He had promised to leave them behind, to serve only God and Eldermore. Yet he kept the box. It was his weakness, his comfort. He held the locket, his thumb tracing its edge. His eyes were wet. "Forgive me," he whispered. He didn't know the camera saw him. It recorded his trembling hands, his quiet tears. Outside, the village stirred. Mary, the young cleaner, was coming early today. Father Thomas closed the box quickly, his heart racing. He didn't want anyone to know. Mary stands outside. She looks through the window. She sees Father Thomas hide the box. Her heart beats fast. Mary, barely 20, loved the church. She cleaned its pews and polished its candlesticks with care. This morning, she arrived early, her auburn braids swinging as she walked. She paused at the church window, drawn by a flicker of light inside. Through the glass, she saw Father Thomas. He was tucking a wooden box behind the hymnals. His face was strange, sad, almost guilty. Mary frowned. She had always seen Father Thomas as steady, like the church itself. What was he hiding? She didn't mean to spy. She only wanted to understand. Her breath fogged the glass as she watched him walk back to the altar. His shoulders slumped. Mary didn't know about the camera. It was Tommy, the baker's son, who had hidden it weeks ago, hoping to catch a ghost in the old church. He hadn't checked it yet. Mary stepped back, unsure. Should she ask Father Thomas about the box, or keep quiet? The church bell rang soft and clear. It was time for her work. She pushed the door open, her footsteps echoing. Father Thomas sees Mary. He smiles, but it's weak. Mary wonders about the box. The church feels heavy. Father Thomas heard the door creak and turned. Mary stood there, her eyes bright but questioning. "Good morning, Mary," he said, forcing a smile. He handed her a broom, his hands still shaky. Mary took it, but her gaze lingered. She wanted to ask about the box, but the words wouldn't come. Father Thomas was like a father to her, always kind, always patient. Seeing him so troubled made her heart ache. "Is everything all right, Father?" she asked softly. He nodded too quickly. "Just tired," he said. Mary swept the floor, but her mind wandered. Was Father Thomas in trouble? Was the box a secret he couldn't share? The church felt different today, heavier, as if it held a secret too. The camera watched them both, its lens hidden in the ivy. Outside, the village went on. Mr. Harrow trimmed the roses. The baker's oven puffed smoke. But inside, Mary felt a quiet unease. She decided to watch Father Thomas closer. She didn't know her choice would change everything. Tommy checks his camera. He sees Father Thomas on the screen. The box is open. Tommy's eyes grow wide. Tommy, the baker's son, was 16 and curious. Weeks ago, he'd hidden a small camera in the church's ivy, hoping to catch a ghost. He'd forgotten about it until now. In his messy bedroom, he plugged the camera into his laptop. The screen flickered, then showed the church's interior. There was Father Thomas, opening a wooden box. Tommy leaned closer, his heart pounding. The priest looked sad. He held a locket, then a carved bird. Tommy didn't understand. Why was Father Thomas hiding this? The footage was blurry but clear enough. Tommy's excitement faded. This wasn't a ghost. This was personal. He thought of Father Thomas, always kind, always at the church. Was he in trouble? Tommy hesitated. He could show the video to his friends, make it a joke. Or he could talk to Father Thomas. The camera kept recording even now. It saw Father Thomas return to the church that evening, alone. It saw him kneel again, praying harder. Tommy closed his laptop. He needed to think. Father Thomas sits alone. The box is open. He holds the locket. His heart remembers. That evening, Father Thomas returned to the church. The village was quiet, the stars bright above. He sat on a pew, the wooden box open on his lap. He held the locket, its silver catching the candle light. It was his mother's, a gift from her final days. She had told him to live with love, not duty. The carved bird was his brother's, made when they were boys. The letter was from a woman he'd loved, long ago before he chose the church. These things weren't sins, but they were his heart. He kept them hidden, afraid they made him less holy. He didn't know the camera was still watching. It saw his tears, his whispered words. "I'm trying, Lord. I'm trying." Outside, Tommy stood by the church door, his laptop under his arm. He'd seen the footage again and felt its weight. Father Thomas wasn't hiding a crime. He was hiding himself. Tommy knocked softly. Father Thomas looked up, startled. The truth was coming, gentle but sure. Tommy sits with Father Thomas. The box is open. They talk, hearts open. The church feels warm. Father Thomas stared at Tommy, the boy's face nervous but kind. "I saw the camera," Tommy said, his voice low. "I saw the box. Father Thomas's heart sank. He thought of lies, excuses, but Tommy's eyes held no judgment. "I'm sorry," Tommy said. "I didn't mean to spy." Father Thomas exhaled, his shoulders easing. He opened the box and showed Tommy the locket, the bird, the letter. He spoke of his mother, his brother, the love he'd left behind. "I keep these to remember who I am," he said. "Not just a priest, but a man." Tommy listened, his own worries fading. He'd thought Father Thomas was perfect. Now he saw someone real. "The village loves you," Tommy said. "They'd understand." Father Thomas smiled, tears in his eyes. For the first time, he felt unburdened. The camera, still hidden, recorded this moment. But it didn't matter anymore. Outside, Mary passed by, seeing the warm light through the window. She smiled, sensing peace. The village gathers. Father Thomas stands tall. He shares his heart. The night is kind. The next evening, Father Thomas called the village to the church. The air was cool, and lanterns glowed along the cobblestones. Mary, Tommy, Mr. Harrow, and others stood quietly, curious. Father Thomas held the wooden box, his hand steady now. "I've carried a secret," he said, his voice clear. He opened the box and showed them the locket, the bird, the letter. He told their stories, his voice breaking only once. "I thought I had to hide my heart to serve you," he said. "I was wrong." The villagers listened, their faces soft. Mary stepped forward, touching his arm. "You're our family," she said. Mr. Harrow nodded. "We love you, Father, not just the priest." Tommy, standing at the back, grinned. He'd deleted the camera footage that morning. It wasn't needed. The church stood strong behind them, its leaks and cracks no longer a burden. The village would fix it together. Father Thomas felt light, as if the stars above were shining just for him. The sun rises again. The church is alive. Father Thomas smiles. The village is home. The next morning, Elder Moore glowed under a new sunrise. The church stood proud, its doors wide open. Father Thomas stood at the entrance, his smile soft but strong. The villagers worked together. Mary swept the steps, her braid swinging. Tommy carried a ladder, joking with his friends. Mr. Harrow planted roses, his hands steady in the soil. The wooden box sat on a pew inside, no longer hidden. Father Thomas had placed it there, a quiet promise to himself. He was a priest, but also a man, and that was enough. The church roof was being mended, the cracks slowly filled. The collection plate was fuller now, as the village gave what they could. Father Thomas rang the bell, its chime clear and warm. The sound carried over Elder Moore, touching every heart. The camera was gone, taken down by Tommy. Its secret had brought the village closer, not torn it apart. Father Thomas looked at the sunrise, his heart full. He was home. And so was Elder Moore,